Sam Allardyce is a man that's managed more football clubs than I can probably name during the amount of time we've got to speak to him. So let's just introduce him as the former England manager, Sam Allardyce. Very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Very well indeed. Exciting game, isn't it? I mean, our appetites were sort of whetted last night, Sam, by those two fantastic games where I think it was 14 goals were scored. I mean, I don't particularly dislike France, but I was really pleased when they lost.
There's a few of us a little bit like that, but I think what was exciting so much was both games were very similar, where one team was losing and all of a sudden just before the end Croatia scored a couple of goals, took it to extra time, then the Spanish won, and then of course France and Switzerland. France looking like they were going to go through. Switzerland, the underdogs by a long way, come back to get 3-3 and then win on penalties. So it's been a fabulous evening for football yesterday, and we want it to be a fabulous evening for England fans tonight, and we hope we can play with such endeavour and vigour and skill and ability and will and desire as we saw against the Swiss team against the French last night. If we've got that, we've got every chance with the ability we've got to win this game.
Yeah, there's no question it's a very talented team. And unusually, I suppose, for this fixture, Sam, England are not really the underdogs, are they? Because Germany are not as good as they used to be.
No, they're not as good as they used to be, but they're still a force to be reckoned with based on the previous outcome of these games. And I think that mentally it's going to be a real test for the England players, because we all know about the past. I know Gareth said, it's about the future. It is. It's about recreating and making a better future for the England team, particularly winning against Germany, because it's been so long since we've done it. But certainly at Wembley tonight, with the fans behind them and the players to play to their best and use the right tactics and play correctly, I think that they will need an opportunity to score, and somebody needs to make it. And hopefully that's Harry Kane getting off the mark, because it's been a long time since he's put the ball in the back of the net, and we can win this game and move on.
Yes. What do you think the Germans' weakness is, Sam, without having to tell them and share it with them?
I think that weakness is what we saw against Hungary. I think it's at the back now. I think that they can be exposed. I think they can be broken down. If you can get in behind them with the pace we've got and play the right balls in the right area. And I think what we have to do, we haven't done up to now, is defensively brilliant, very sound, very solid. But what we haven't done is move the ball quick enough in between the lines and in behind the opposition defence. We spent too much time passing it sideways and backwards for me. We need to move that ball a lot quicker and expose the German defence as quickly as we possibly can. If we let 10 and 11 men get back behind the ball, we've found that to be a struggle, certainly in these Euros.
Yeah, and do you think the criticism of Gareth Southgate that he is a very defensive-minded manager because that was what position he played, is that fair?
It's not fair, no, but I think what you have to understand is that what everybody says on the outside of the world of football, inside the world of football, probably the team that wins the Euros will have the best defensive record. And that's what's happened throughout most of these big tournaments. France in the World Cup, when they won it, had the best defensive record. And I think that then you've got to rely on the talent of your front men to take your chances. But England shut out Germany and don't concede a goal. They've got every chance of winning this. And if it's only by 1-0 and it's not that thrilling, then fair enough, we'll accept that. But let's hope it is a much better game than we've seen before from England, and more goals.
Yes, well, certainly there's been plenty of goals. There was some great games in the Euros this time around, because I've been sort of reluctant to watch a lot of football in the past year, just because I haven't liked it with the empty stadiums. But the first proper game that I saw was the Champions League final. But I've watched loads of this, and it's been fantastic, isn't it?
It has, and I think that as we get past the group stages, I think when we get to the latter end of the group stages, when people actually need to win to get through to the next level or get through to the next round, or in particular where they finish in those group tables, it gets more and more exciting the closer they get to the end. And then when we get into the knockout stage, as we've seen, I mean, there was a pretty good game, even though it was only 1-0, was Belgium and Portugal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really good game as well, particularly second half. So we're seeing the best of teams coming out in these knockout stages now. And obviously, fingers crossed tonight, we'll see the best of England. We'll see England's best performance tonight in these Euros.
And as a manager and as a player as well, does it matter what time the game's at? Because it's at 5 o'clock. I mean, obviously, it means an awful lot of people will be knocking off work early to go and watch it somewhere. But does it matter as a manager or a player that it's not at 7 or 8?
No, not now. We've dealt with COVID for nearly 2 seasons now, where we've kicked off at 12,
Yes.
11, 2:30,
Right.
7 o'clock, 8:15,
Right.
Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, you name it, we've done it now.
Mm.
So the players have, with the COVID situation, have become used to the different game
Mm.
times, as it were in my day, where it was only 3 o'clock on a
Yes.
Saturday afternoon.
No.
That's long gone now, so that won't be a problem for them. But what is a problem is obviously how they build up to this game.
Mm.
Tactics, fine, but in terms of the mental strength the players will need is the big question. Can they hold it together mentally, and can they deliver? And if they can do that, then they'll produce their best football.
And as you say, we've seen Portugal going out, we've seen France going out. Who do you think's the best manager in this tournament?
Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, at the moment, I have to say, Denmark and Switzerland. The way Denmark have coped with the Christian Eriksen thing, and what he's done with the team, and what they've done to get through, because they lost the first 2 games, and then Switzerland last night. I think that the tactics he used, the substitutions he made, and obviously the will and determination of the players. So, because they're underdogs, both those managers don't get the credit they deserve. So I think, from my point of view as a manager, looking at their contribution to their team, massive.
Yeah, because they're really punching above their weight, aren't they? And what about the Germans? What's the most important thing if you were out there? And I was going to ask you, do you ever think sometimes you wish it was still you that was there? And I know that's a bit of a thorny question for you, but if you were still out there, would you be what would you be telling the players from England to do to make sure that the Germans couldn't get anywhere?
Well, after I'd focused on the Germans' strengths and weaknesses, I'd be talking, it's all about us. It's all about what we can do and how we should do it and how we should go about it. So the final focus for me would always be about how positive we need to be and what we need to do and how we need to perform. And then, of course, after that, from a tactic point of view, is to prepare right for the game and make sure you calm the players down. You look at the players' body language, and if you see anybody getting overexcited, there is no need for any motivation of these players for this game. It's actually keeping them a little bit calmer rather than actually trying to motivate them for this match.
Yes, because everyone says that Scotland's best performance was obviously against England because they were right up for it, and if they had been up for every other match, it might have been a different story. But the England players they've all had pretty long seasons. So is fatigue an issue as well?
Yes, obviously fatigue's an issue, but England have been lucky because they haven't had to travel very far like other teams. I was listening to the Portugal game where they travelled something like 5,000 or 6,000 miles throughout the stages of the games, and Wales was the same, I think. So England have been pretty fortunate from that point of view. And there's a lot of players, obviously, that will be tired that have played in cup matches, Champions League finals, and league matches throughout the season. Will feel the fatigue, but fatigue is in the mind. You get rid of that fatigue by the quality of this game and by your mental resilience, and say, this is the biggest game of my life at international level. It's bigger than the Croatia semi-final for me because it means so much doing it on our home soil. So let's hope they can reproduce a great performance.
And we've got the 3 lines on the Talk Radio crest today, Sam, because we want to try and sort of get behind the team properly. Are you a superstitious man? Would you be somebody that would welcome people who do sort of strange things? I mean, I've spoken to loads of footballers who say, I always put my left sock on first and the right sock on second and all of that. Do you believe in all that?
It's quite amusing in my long time as a manager to actually see some of those superstitions in play in the dressing room. I've seen a player go and warm up, come off, take his boots off, take his socks off, take his strappings off, then re-put his strappings back on, re-put new socks on, and put a new pair of boots on and go and run out again.
Right.
And then I've seen one lad who has to go to the toilet 2 minutes before they've got to run out. And then you've seen all those quirks. You see lads who will start with their shirt first, then the shorts and slips, then the socks. Then there's lots of superstitions across the board. Goalkeepers with their gloves, so on and so forth. So it's quite interesting when you stood there as a manager, just observing these superstitions, and lads feel much better. You don't talk about it, you just let them get on with it.
Just let them get on with it. And would you, if you were picking the team tonight, would you pick Grealish?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I'd play Grealish in a wide position where he's been most effective for Aston Villa, and certainly he's the one man for me that can actually take the ball and commit German players to trying to take it off him, and he'll skip past them and create opportunities for other players, and he will attract other German players to come and mark him. So there'll be two or three players around Jack Grealish if he plays tonight, and that will release a lot of space for other players.
Right. And Harry Kane, if he doesn't start firing in the first half, do you take him off at half time?
Not your captain, no, and not your best goal scorer in the England squad. You have faith in him, and you believe that he will get a chance. And that is one of his problems, that the England players haven't provided enough chances for Harry to score, actually. So it is a little bit about the fact that he's had little or no chances to actually capitalise on. So let's hope they make a lot more chances for him tonight. And I'm convinced he will score. And I also think that England would probably get the winner, maybe from Harry Kane or maybe from a free kick tonight.
And if they do get through tonight, do you think they can win it?
Massive boost to the confidence, yes. And of course, they've just got to not think about that. They've got to think about just the next game and just getting through the next game. I mean, we were so close last time, 20 minutes from the World Cup final against Croatia, 1-0 up, and we didn't quite manage that. So let's make sure if we get in that position again, let's just get through tonight and see where we go.
Okay. Have you had a call from Daniel Levy yet, Sam?
No, not from Daniel, no.
Just not thought yet. I'd ask. Well, you never know. I mean, it's early days, isn't it?
I'm here, Daniel, if you want to ring me.
There you go. Thanks very much indeed. Sam Allardyce there, former England manager. Who knows? Maybe he'll be the next Tottenham manager. You just don't know. In football, anything can happen.